I already stripped the audio, so
Nice.
now the second part is ready for go time. And what a wild and woolly afternoon of games to go over. And to start with Miami 43, San Francisco 17. A quarterback change was made, although the reasons given, Bloom, are a little bogus or a lot bogus. We'll get to the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo getting benched, but let's talk about Fitz magic. And where are we? It's the downward and then the upward. It's
Yeah.
the ultimate pendulum. It's like watching cryptocurrency. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, it'll be, oh, dude.
I'd invest in Fitzmagic.
I don't have a lot of crypto, but I've got enough crypto to go like, yay, oh God, yay, oh God. And that's kind of like Ryan Fitzpatrick, 22 of 28, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, no INTs. Tua, you can just wait. Preston Williams, 4 for 106 and a touchdown. It's beautiful. Fitzpatrick took a shot, and Williams grabs it, pays it off there. Devontae Parker, 2 for 50 and a touch. Adam Shaheen, remember him? 1 for 3 and a touchdown there. Mike Gesicki, 5 for 91. So, good enough, certainly in PPR leagues. Rushing the rock, Myles Gaskin, 16 to 57 and 1 rushing touchdown. Also 5 for 34 as a receiver. So doing some good things. Matt Breida, 9 for 28 on the ground, and then 1 for 31 as a receiver. No Jordan Howard in this game, of course. So Miami comes out and they make a statement. 30 points in the first half, Bloom. Then they called off the dogs.
Yeah, you have to love the competitiveness that Ryan Fitzpatrick instills in his team. You can see it. I mean, they lost some games this year where maybe they were a little overmatched, but still could have won the Seattle game, the Buffalo game. But they handily beat Jacksonville and really handily beat San Francisco. San Francisco did not look like a team that you would think was in the Super Bowl last year. And I get it. They're down their starting corners, and they're down Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas and so on. But a lot of teams are playing with a lot of players out, and you still see them being competitive. San Francisco was not competitive in this game on either side of the ball. We'll get to the offense. They were not competitive on defense. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, you see it, Cease. You see how, again, everything I think of is always framed in terms of everything I fed my brain as a kid, right? So like movies, TV, music, video games, right? It's like when Ryan Fitzpatrick makes one of those plays, he gets that glow around him, and the team does too. He made a tremendous touchdown throw, staring down the barrel of a hit to Preston Williams. Saw a big play from Mike Gesicki. So Gesicki wasn't a big part of the game plan, but he had a 70-yard catch in this one. We also saw in this one Devontae Parker get a touchdown. Not a lot of volume. This was one where Miami's offense was on fire, but you still had them settling for field goals, like what happened in the Seattle game. And you also had them taking the foot off the gas in the second half. Jordan Howard, inactive, healthy scratch. So, again, in some ways, you look at the contract, you say, you gave him 2 years, $9 million to make him a healthy scratch. On the other hand, you say, what is he really adding? Myles Gaskin said, I can get a 1-yard touchdown. Jordan Howard, that's not a special skill. And Gaskin, of course, that ups his profile a little bit. So we see the outlines of this offense, and we see going into this week, we were thinking, when are we going to see Tua, right? After a game like this, how can you say now we're close to seeing Fitzpatrick pulled? I don't think so, going into the bye. And that's the thing. A different kind of result. Because, by the way, tear up your list of what teams have what bye weeks, because Miami actually has a bye next week because Denver and New England are going to get played. And blah, 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 blah. There's a whole cascading domino effect of changes here. But Miami is going into a bye feeling good with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And you'd have to say, Cease, 5 weeks, right? What a season we've already had packed into 5 weeks. And teams should really feel like, we talked about this in the first half of the recap. We were going over the the early games. There is no clear dominant team on either side of the bracket, right? Green Bay, I don't know. So any team should feel like, if there's a season, Cease, if there's a season that a team wins a Super Bowl that none of us had even thinking about being in contention, after how many sea changes we've seen in teams' fates already, and how much gets packed in to this short time span? Is it still really 2020? I think Miami, we go at the beginning of the year, people think, maybe they can contend, and then we watch them for a few weeks and say, I don't know. But you go to San Francisco and you win like this, and you feel like, hey, we can take on anybody, anywhere.
All takers. By the way, our man Kevin Bacon in the chat room says Fitzcoin.
Yeah, there you go. All invest.
It's perfect. It is absolutely perfect.
Perfect silhouette for a coin, too. The side with the beard.
Exactly. Right. It's
He
very
belongs
regal.
on a coin.
Yeah, it's very regal, very presidential. Let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo getting benched. They say for his own protection? What, protection from himself? Like, okay.
Like when you get committed involuntarily?
Something. He was sacked 3 times. He threw a couple of picks, was 7 of 17 for 77 yards. In comes CJ Beathard, 9 for 18, 94 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Team relied on Raheem Mostert, 11 for 90. Kyle Juszczyk got the rushing touchdown, so nobody started him. You might have had Brandon Ayuk in there, 3 for 44. Kendrick Bourne, their first wide receiver touchdown of the year, Bloom.
Wow.
That's their first wide receiver touchdown of the year, and it was Kendrick Bourne, like using that speed, reach into the end zone, 2 for 30 and a touch. Nobody started him. You started George Kittle. You got 4 for 44. So in a matchup where you thought, okay, take advantage of the Dolphins and Jimmy G's back, and oh my gosh, it was more, oh geez, golly whiz, I shouldn't have had any 49ers in.
No. And see, you can be my witness. That I did bring up in the offseason that I wondered, even though it seemed a bit like a stretch, how Jimmy Garoppolo's confidence would be coming into this year and how his teammates' level of confidence would be in him after how the Super Bowl went. And we saw him play just terrible in the first game of the year. His game against Arizona is one of the worst games any quarterback has played in any game this year. And then you see him come into this game, and it's slipping quickly. In the end of the first half, it basically completely fell apart. And yes, they pulled him for his own protection. See, what I read that as, because you can't say it's because physically he wasn't ready because of his ankle, because he was out there for a half. It wasn't like on the first drive you saw him drop back and saw he was a little wobbly and said, well, this is a bad idea. It was only after he threw the picks. I think it's that his confidence level is at a critical point. And see, this is one of those things we talk about. You know when your teammates aren't confident in you. You know whenever they don't feel like you got them. We'll talk about this with the Indianapolis game. You know that. And it erodes your confidence in yourself. And we saw it really come unraveled. So I don't know. I mean, look, this team isn't tied to Garoppolo for the long term. I wonder, the first thing I thought, Cecil, is I wonder if Minnesota might be in the mood for a reboot and would trade Kirk Cousins to them. Maybe even during the season if Minnesota falls out of playoff contention before the trade deadline, because San Francisco is on that carousel, or it's more like a Ferris wheel where they went up towards the Super Bowl and then down. And just like ask Atlanta where they're at on that Ferris wheel right now. They're at the very bottom. Dan Quinn, your ride is over. Somebody else gets to get on. So this was a game for this offense. Well, here's what we know. Raheem Mostert is good. He's so good. No problems coming back from the knee injury. He just looks like he is shot out of a gun. See, we think mythologically in our terms. I mean, he really looks like he runs like his life is depending on it, on every touch he gets. That's what you get. See, all that stuff about, whoa, what's his pedigree, undrafted guy, cut this many times. What that means is when you get an opportunity, you hold on to it. And he looks great. Everybody else. I mean, this is a real hit. You're going to keep George Kittle in your lineup, but this is not a stable offense. This isn't the Kyle Shanahan offense that was producing all this excess value last year. Similarly, with guys like Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, who are now splitting that role, what's there? Kendrick Bourne getting the touchdown. You like seeing him overcoming the odds to have a decent career. And then the other question is, where was Jerick McKinnon? Jerick McKinnon shows he is still capable of breaking long plays. He shows he's still capable of being an asset in the passing game. Jeff Wilson got more touches than him in this one. I don't get it. That's just the first installment of I don't get it from these games. San Francisco has to play the Rams next week. So this is going to be... See, I think we have to wonder who's going to start for them. It probably will be Garoppolo. But then it becomes, well, how long will Garoppolo stay in? How many times does Aaron Donald have to go boo before we see CJ Beathard again. So how quickly things change for the San Francisco team.
Yes. And then it makes you wonder, what would Sam Darnold look like?
Oh, first round pick. Maybe
You
that's
know,
your team.
you got John Lynch. You got some guy named Adam Peters who may be GM of a team pretty soon. I'll leave that one hang out there for everybody. So, hell, Bloom, Dwayne Haskins. What would Dwayne Haskins look like with Kyle Shanahan? Remember, it's all about fit.
Yeah.
What would Dwayne Haskins look like with Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah.
What would Sam Darnold look like with Kyle Shanahan? And if the Jets are already thinking like we wouldn't get a first-round pick, send him a first-round pick.
Yeah. There's also a certain quarterback who
now.
hasn't played for a few years. I don't remember there was a big story about it.
Yeah.
He used to play for San Francisco, I think, actually.
Yeah, that'll never happen. So there's reality, and then there's that. So let's move on to Colts and Browns. 32-23. Bloom, you said it. Like, hey, a team like the Browns could get hot. Go all the way. This is the year. Phillip Rivers just isn't. I mean, what's Jacoby Brissett look like with Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's Jacoby Brissett look like running this team? Was this defense better than Phillip Rivers? 243 yards, no touchdowns, 2 INTs. Ugly ones, Bloom.
Yes.
Ugly INTs from Rivers. So, okay, whatever. We got to talk about Jonathan Taylor, rushing touchdown. Woo, 57 yards. Right on. T.Y. Hilton went 6 of 69. Fine. Marcus Johnson, nobody's got him. 3 for 53. Like, whatever is, all this Trey Burton hype. What in the, you got Mo Ali Cox. Why in the blank are you playing Trey Burton?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, Frank Reich, what the hell are you doing? And, with Phillip Rivers, what the hell are you doing? Losing games.
Yeah, and again, how can this team have confidence in Rivers right now? I really thought, shows how wrong I am, I'm wrong a lot, that the reason you bring in Rivers is if it comes down to one drive, at least everybody knows here's someone who has a lot of experience in that situation, and we have a better chance of getting that drive than if we have Brissett. But you knew they were going to be a defense and a running game team this year. Rivers just looks like when you need him to make that throw, it's not there. It's just not there. And the Ronnie Harrison pick six, they break down a pick six. They'll show you the angles and things like that. The announcers were like, Ronnie Harrison didn't do anything special. He just sat down in zone coverage and watched the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And then the quarterback threw the ball, and it was real easy for him to run and grab it and go to the end zone. That shouldn't happen in the NFL. That's the kind of stuff that gets Dwayne Haskins pulled, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, even though this team has had the experience with Jacoby Brissett not being able to come back, not being able to hold leads last year, if Brissett does not give them a better chance to at least he's mobile. Anthony comes out for this one. At least he's mobile, and you have more arm strength than Rivers. And with Rivers, the problem is, unlike Peyton Manning when he won the Super Bowl with Denver, he doesn't factor into what he can do that he can't do what he used to be able to do. He's still out there winging it like he's old Phillip Rivers. Okay, Jonathan Taylor got a touchdown. That's great. Naeem Hines. And see, this is going to get really annoying for people listening to the show. Why isn't there more Naeem Hines? Why isn't there more Mo Ali Cox? Mo Ali Cox, you work in the middle of the field, so you're not stressing out Rivers' arm. Naeem Hines, short passes. Slow down the pass rush. I don't understand how you can have players this talented that showed how talented they were in this very season, and they're taking a backseat to other players. But for fantasy, we're not going to try to get out ahead of that. Maybe we'll hold on. We'll talk about that on Tuesday. Indianapolis, here's the theme, Cease. Are they a good team? Are they a good team? They have a good defense sometimes. They've also lost to Jacksonville, who certainly doesn't look like a good team. Without a kickoff return in this one, they get blown out, really.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they're a good team. They're facing Cincy next week. They should win decisively if they're at least not a bad team. But it's really difficult to sort these things out. And again, if you're the Texans and you're watching the Colts and you're thinking, this is one of the teams we have to overcome, okay, that's doable.
Yeah, Texans could be that team. Come from the doldrums. Wouldn't that be... That's almost too perfect, Bloom.
Right.
Like,
the Penguins did it.
O'Brien.
The Penguins fired their coach midseason and won the Stanley Cup.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Hockey.
Let's talk about the Browns and Baker the Babymaker, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs. The touchdowns, one to Rashard Higgins. Remember him? 3 for 31 and a touchdown. The other touchdown was to Kareem Hunt, 3 for 21 and a touchdown. Hunt also chipped in with 20 carries, 72 yards. So there's your RB1 numbers. Your wide receiver one for the Browns today was Jarvis Landry, 4 for 88. And so much fun watching Jarvis Landry that even our man Andrew Hawkins said, hey, if you don't have fun watching Jarvis Landry play football, you just don't know football. Odell Beckham Jr., 5 for 58, also threw a pass in this one. Dearness Johnson might have had him in as a what-the-heck flex, catch for 4 yards and 8 for 32 on the ground. So you had some defensive scores. You had an offense that didn't really fire on all cylinders, but still get the big win, Bloom, and big momentum builder for this team.
Yeah, and what you like about this, Cease, is Kevin Stefanski. He comes in helping with the Kubiak offense in Minnesota, but he's not just running the Kubiak offense in Cleveland, as you're seeing power running in addition to the zone running. Then you go in to this game against Indy with their tough run defense, and although they did have some linebackers out, Bobby Okereke actually got an interception with the club on one of his hands, a broken thumb. And they go out and they pass early, and it looks good. And they dial up the right plays, and they get out and they get some momentum early against a tough defense, and then eventually you see some runs at the end. Hunt and Dearness Johnson making some runs to help them carry out this win. Beckham, more of a floor game for him. He did have that nice throw. Landry, he's just going to dwell on this 8 to 10 point range, but he's still playing well, getting better as the season is going on. And Mayfield, he did have that interception, but slowly but surely building confidence in the Matt Waldman bumper bowling kind of way. They're winning, Cease. They're 4-1, and they're going to Pittsburgh. What a game. It's been a while. Last time there was a showdown like this, I was reading, it was like 2008, I think, 2007, 2008. Both teams ended up 10-6 that year. And it's great. It's great when the Browns, Steelers, they've had that great playoff game, of course, Kelly Holcomb. When this game is meaningful, and boy, is it meaningful in Week 6.
Bloom.
Yeah, 2020, man. 2020.
Yeah.
Just see, this is the challenge of 2020. I would say think the worst thing that you can think of, but don't do that. It's like Ghostbusters, right? Don't do that, because 2020 will bring it into existence.
Mm-hmm. It's manifesting.
Yeah.
Everything is manifesting. There's actually a comic book about that, Bloom, where it's called The Department of Truth, where every conspiracy theory that you think of is true because you thought it.
Right.
So the government controls what you think.
Right.
Interesting. Anyway, I'll give you some spoilers about it off the air, but I'm sure you'll rush out and purchase it. Everyone should. Department of Truth. It just came out this week. Anyway, I don't really. We'll talk about this game, dude. But the Dak, it's just unfair, man. And I know. He's making $30 million a year, and yes, trust me, I know there are people without work. There are people that don't know how to pay rent. Like I get all that, but there's a large group of us football fans who just want Dak Prescott to get paid. And Jerry Jones, not going to want to do that. Now ankle surgery for Dak Prescott. We'll talk about the Giants, whatever is whatever. The Cowboys win 37-34. But now Dak Prescott is done. And, here comes the Andy Dalton era. As you wrote on our newswire, Bloom, this is a hit for all Cowboys players on this offense. And, again, talk about the Giants if you want. It's just really disappointing when you have a game that's entertaining to begin with, and then Dak gets hurt. And it's like, oh, I wish I could cuss. So anyway, let's talk about this and now post Dak Cowboys team.
Yeah, first place post Dak Cowboys team. The Giants actually put up a great fight in this one. And again, in this NFC least, you win a game in the division, all of a sudden you're in contention. Any of the teams, Washington and the Giants play next week. That's a big one. The Giants were, both teams had defensive touchdowns in this one. you saw Daniel Jones maybe not light up the fantasy stat sheet, but hang in, make some throws, and keep his team steady. This is not a team that has any give up in it. From a fantasy point of view, you saw Darius Slayton really show the makings of a number one receiver making those plays. Devontae Freeman showing, well, yeah, I guess we're really going to start any warm body that's a lead back against Dallas, because he had a reasonable fantasy output in this one if you start him as a running back too. Again, Kenyon Drake will test this next week, but Chase Edmonds is there too. Devontae Freeman comes through. Otherwise, see, Evan Ingram scored on an end around, not involved in the passing game really. Golden Tate not doing much in this one either. So even though they were able to rack up some points in this one, it wasn't necessarily a fantasy bonanza that we were expecting. DFS a bit of a letdown, and a letdown for the Giants to lose this one because it seemed like at a certain point after the Dak Prescott injury, they had momentum. They were feeding off of it, and then here comes the Red Rifle. Played his college ball just a little ways away from Arlington at TCU. Maybe it's time for him to author his story. But as we turn the page, and again, Washington, the Giants next week, don't miss it. This is week 6, right? Detroit and Jacksonville, Atlanta and Minnesota, Washington and the Giants, but also Cleveland and Pittsburgh, Kansas City and Buffalo, Green Bay and Tampa Bay. So this is what we're looking at. There'll be missable games and games you don't want to miss. As we turn the page to the Dallas Seas, I just got to say this. And I think Matt Harmon, I think Matt Harmon, our good friend, our nephew, said a few weeks ago, I don't even remember which injury it was that prompted it. He said, never, ever, ever complain when players hold out for guaranteed money. And this is why. And this is just what makes me sad, is that Dak Prescott had really earned his bag. He had earned that generational wealth that comes with a starting quarterback contract in the NFL. And now we wonder, as he goes to the hospital for surgery for this broken ankle, and we wonder if this is going to be used against him. It almost feels unfair that Jerry Jones has gotten to benefit from his talents at this point, because this is exactly why players are in the right to get the security they've earned when they have given a team value how much did Dak Prescott get paid on his rookie contract, Cease? I mean, $3 million or
$4 million, something like that. Yeah.
They got that. They got 4 quarterback starting years for like $1 million a year, and they would not give him the market level contract he had clearly earned. And that's just what makes me sad about this. The other thing that makes me sad, Cease, is you could just feel how much Dak puts on the line for his team. And when Dak is weeping as he's taken off the field, he's not weeping for himself.
No.
He's weeping for his team. He's weeping for his teammates. He's weeping for everything that he has put in to try to get this team to that promised land, to hold up that trophy. And they had a chance this year, defense or no defense, because of him. And it's just not going to be as good watching football on Sunday. And, I just want to see him come all the way back from this injury, get what he deserves, whether it's in a Cowboys uniform or not.
Football is a wicked mistress. I usually say that for fantasy football, but it truly is. Truly a game that will just sap it from you. Okay. I think we've covered everything, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Tanner, on a down note like that.
Now, well, look. Hey, fantasy real quick. Dak caught a touchdown from Cedric Wilson. Let's turn it back to the real football, because they came back and won a game, and they're in first place in the division. Ezekiel Elliott scores a couple of touchdowns. He actually had one of his better fantasy games of the year. What did it look like when Andy Dalton came in? A lot more to Michael Gallup. And even though Rashard Higgins scored a touchdown, it was only the second best play by Colorado State. Actually, Preston Williams scored a long one, too. It was the third best play. It was the third best play by a Colorado State wide receiver in the late games. You got to love that. Colorado State Rams wide receiver Michael Gallup the Cowboys get the ball back with so little time that you think, do you just run the ball and let the clock run out and try overtime? But Andy Dalton goes for it, and Michael Gallup makes a couple of tremendous plays on the sidelines, incredible body control. And now the Cowboys have a kicker that they trust, although just got inside the goalpost there, Greg Zuerlein. The other thing I got to point out here is James Bradberry. Wow. Just erased Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. And this is a matchup we'll get to see again. But, teams have been talking about how the Giants defense has given them some fits, even though you look at their personnel and you think, wow. James Bradberry is someone we have to watch. Carlton Davis is already coming on. We got to watch him on Thursday night. Now we're watching James Bradberry as a budding shutdown corner. And again, Monday night, we got a double dip. We got Kansas City and Buffalo and Arizona and Dallas, which will just be fascinating by the way these two teams mix it up. And Andy Dalton, obviously everybody in the Cowboys offense takes a hit, but I wonder if the hit will be smaller than people are envisioning. Andy Dalton is still, how many quarterbacks is Andy Dalton better than that are starting right now? He's like 5 or 10,
10 at least, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not this devastating death blow to this offense. They still have all this same personnel, and they were able to come back and beat the Giants. But yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot packed into this NFL Sunday, and I think the most important thing, Cease, is it's something we get to all experience together, even though we're separate, and that is worth something, even if sometimes we're all together in our sadness.
Our man Geese says thumbs up to our guys and the chat crew. Of course, we certainly appreciate everyone out there. That is a wrap for the Week 5 recap, parts 1 and 2. And you'll hear them combined together on Spotify, on Apple Music, however you download your podcast. Thank you for listening to the Audible, and thanks for watching the Audible. As we grow our YouTube channel, make sure to do all those YouTube things, like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And oh boy, we get prepared for now the waiver wire and all of our episodes that we have each and every week as we approach. Won't get to it this year, Bloom, but I told you earlier today, we'll get to 4,000 episodes next year. So I always kind of chuckle when I see we're on episode 123. I remember those days. We still haven't figured out how to do this yet. Some would say we still haven't. But anyway, for those that are along for the ride, thank you guys very much. We certainly appreciate your love and energy, and we all need it at all times now. Be good to your neighbors, be good in your community, all those sorts of things. Spread that positivity because it's a little thin out there. So we all need you. Thank you guys for giving us positivity and smiles. Someone give me some English lessons, please. But we just appreciate everyone out there for watching, for listening. He's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. The show is at the Audible, and I'm at Cecil Lammey saying thanks very much for watching. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We're the Audible. Stay tuned and stay frosty.